Alright, so another Q&A session, Saturday, December 19th. So this is a video where I answer a bunch of your questions that you ask me on Monday's video. So on Monday, I put out a video. Next week, it's going to be Ask Yoon week 4. And if you put your questions in that video, I will feature it on today's Q&A sessions where I answer a bunch of your questions. And throughout the week, depending on how frequent the question is asked, I might make a question of the day video in regards to that specific topic, okay? So if you have any questions, please wait until Monday and put it in that video. It just helps me out to look at all the questions in one place than to look at, 10 different videos and try to gather different questions, right? So, first question comes from Zylow, and Zylow says, my recruiter says the job I want won't be available anytime soon, or by the time I get in. Is this true? To give you examples, 2 examples. Number 1, a buddy of mine, he wanted to be LS when he joined, and when he first met his recruiter says, oh no, be a hospital corpsman, and the recruiter was trying to push HM, right? And when he got to MEPS, my friend said, hey, I know you're trying to push me into this rate, but my friend was smart. He did his research and he said, hey, no, I'm going to be an LS. I want to be an LS. And for 5 hours, the recruiter was trying to push him to be an HM, pushing him to be, hey, LS hasn't been open for a long time. LS isn't going to be open for a very long time. You're better off being a HM. And my friend waited for 5 hours. And by the end of it, magically, LS became available. And him and I joined around the same time. And LS, I know, and he knows now, LS is always open, right? To give you a second example, for me, when I joined, I wanted to be MC, mass communications, right? And yesterday, it's so funny, I met 3 MCs that joined the same time that I did. And I remember I was calling my recruiter when I first joined. I said, hey, I want to be an MC. And my recruiter said, oh, no, it's not. It hasn't been open for 9 months. I think I saw one opening like a month ago. And it's not going to be open anytime soon. And you have to sign up for a 20-year contract. And I talked to the guys, 3 MCs yesterday. And they said, no, that's totally bullcrap. Right? So, recruiters have numbers that they need to fill. They need to have certain number of nukes, certain number of spec op guys, and certain number of this rate. You have to, if you want a job, you have to be stubborn at it. You have to be persistent at it. You have to be willing to stand your ground. All right? You don't want to sign up for 4, 5, or 6 years of your life doing something that you don't want to do. All right? If you want a specific rate, be persistent, patient, and if they're not willing to give it to you, be willing to walk out. All right. So next question comes from future sailor Guzman about getting braces. And does the military pay for it? And I asked around and they do not. All right. So next question comes from future sailor Martin about bringing personal weapons. So guns and all that kind of stuff. So you can't have personal weapons when you're in service. But you can have knives. So like pocket knives and all that kind of stuff. Now A school, you need to check with A school depending on if they allow it or not. Some A school might, some A schools might not. And also in the fleet, you might need to just double check. They might have a rule for whatever reason, but for the most part, I work with a bunch of guys who have knives that we use. They have it not to like cut people, but they have it for like utility purposes, for like cutting stuff that we need to function every day. And next question comes from future sailor Guzman in regards to how come am I still E1? The reason why I am E1, and Taylor and future sailor Taylor Pay asked, is there an importance to ranking up in boot camp? Yes, it is very, very important. And it kind of bums me out still a little bit, just a little bit. But I'm still okay with being E1. I like to start from the bottom and go all the way to the top and still talk about how I can save a lot more money, because I know a lot of E3s who can't save a lot of money for the life of them. But I'm an E1 and they make like 300, 400 more more dollars than I do, but I'm saving more money. And that's a different topic. But anyway, how come am I still E1? Because 9 months hasn't passed, so you can't like be bumped up to E2 by having a good performance in work in 6 months. No, you have to wait 9 months, and when you're E2, you have to wait 9 months, and then when you're E3, you have to wait 6 months, and then you get promoted. All right, so that you don't just get like magically promoted by good effort, good work ethic, or whatever. Sometimes, on a very rare occasion, if the commanding officer really likes you, but when you're in a ship with, like, let's say, like 3,000 people, that's not going to really happen. All right. And also, regarding Future Sailor PA's question on is it important to rank up in boot camp? Yes. If you go to boot camp as an E1, you pass the depth test, become E2, and let's say you do a good job, overall performance in your like RPOC, AROC, whatever, and you become E3. Well, like for me, I have to wait until next December to be E3 and start taking my E4 tests. But I have a lot of friends right now. I know one of the guy that I graduated boot camp with, he just became E4, right? So he is much more advanced in his Navy career than I am in the same amount of time. All right, so he's an E4, I'm still an E1. By the time I qualify for E2, 3 months from now, he's probably going to be studying and trying to work to become E5, right? So by the time like end of next year, I'm going to be E3 and he's going to be like E5 if everything plays out for him. So that is important. All right, so next question comes from Kid Hollywood on choosing orders. So it also depends on the availability and how long your A school is. And so typically I know a lot of the guys who have long A school, like long duration, like 6-year contracts where 2 years is like A school and C school. When they have long A schools, they typically, by the end of their A school, they get to kind of have multiple different choices as to where they can go. But when you have like short-term A school, like, you know, a couple of months, by the time you get in, they're going to say, all right, just generalize East Coast, West Coast, or overseas. And then you just write in, all right, I want this one, this one, this one, like 1, 2, 3. And then, you know, the detailer, the guy who picks your orders, he just kind of sets you as to whatever is open at the time. Now, if there's like very huge availability, I'm sure they're going to give you an option or some type of choice. But when there isn't a lot of availability, they're just going to throw you at whatever is open. All right. And also, Kid Hollywood asks about Captain's Mast. What is it? Well, Captain's Mast is, let's say, for example, let's say I got so drunk and I was driving right under a car and I got caught. So I got DUI. I got caught by the police for driving while I was drunk. Then it's basically like the court, but in the military system. So then I'm going to go in front of the captain of my command, and then my captain is going to judge my fate. So that's the Captain's Mast. So typically, if I get a DUI, my captain's going to kick me out of the Navy. So that is Captain's Mast. That is also Admiral's Mast, which is when there's like higher ups, like let's say the captain this time got the DUI or got in some serious trouble. Now the admiral is going to judge the captain's fate. So that's how that works. All right. So typically you're going to hear a lot of Captain's Mast when you're in the Navy. So next question comes from Future Sailor Bailey about buying a car. So I'm going to make a separate video on this topic after I do more research into like specific numbers or, you know, how I can best explain it to you. But is it easy buying a car? I think Future Sailor Guzman was asking. Is it easy buying a car? In a way, yes, because a lot of car dealers out there want to sell cars to military members because they know we get paid on the 1st and the 15th of each month. So they know we get steady income and they know we can afford it. So car dealers are after military personnel because they know they can easily sell the car and make a lot of money or make a lot of commission, right? So there's always people like trying to sell me cars out there. Personally, for me, I would recommend don't buy a car. You don't really need it, right? if you go on deployment, what are you going to do with your car? You're going to be paying rent, you're going to be paying your car, and you're going to be paying insurance on your car for like months and months and months and months, and you just waste money, in my opinion. If you think you can get like, $6,000 worth of use out of your car, so be it. But in my opinion, right now, currently as it stands, I'm not going to get that significant use out of my car, so I don't really need a car. All right. So next question comes from future sailor Earl in regards to when you're in A school, do you earn some type of college credits? Yes, you do get some type of college credits. It also depends on which college. Some colleges accept your Navy experience and transfer into more college credits than others. So there is always just a little bit, but not a whole lot. I don't know the exact numbers because I don't work for college and stuff like that. College would probably be able to give you some exact numbers. And also, I get a lot of questions as to enlisted to officer. So, enlisted to officer, I'm still doing the research. And also, I'm going to make a separate video in regards to that. So for now, what I can say is I've been talking to a good amount of people in regards to this topic. And what I can say is you need to take your SAT, number one. All right, you need to take your SAT. If you are interested in this program and you're still in the DEP program right now, try to take your SAT and try to get a really good score at it. Because it is one of the requirements for when you are enlisted and you're applying for officer, you have to take your SAT and they are going to take a look at your score. So when you're in DEP, while you have the time, study for SAT and take the SAT test, all right? So next question comes from future sailor Alonzo about inspection questions. So when you're in boot camp, what kind of questions do they ask? Well, everything related to boot camp is what I can say. So next question comes from 1337 Dragon X and also related with future sailor Dobbins about food in A school and in boot camp. So in boot camp, they have pretty good food. I was really impressed. I really enjoyed it. I know some people thought it was bad. Some people thought it was disgusting. I think they were kind of spoiled brats in my opinion. But in my opinion, I really enjoyed boot camp's food. It's kind of like a buffet style. They have like as much salad as you want, whatever you can fit on your plate. Like they have a bunch of different options. Like you can eat healthy if you want. You can. I wouldn't say there's a lot of vegan options. Like if you want all like veggie meat or whatever. But yeah, there's always good options that you can eat healthy, and there's a variety of options. And in A school, for me at least in my A school, it was also pretty good. Some days weren't really good at all, but for the most part, it was good. And in the fleet right now, I don't personally eat at the galley because I have food. I get BAS, so I pack food and eat at the galley. And if it was up to me, if I had a choice, I still wouldn't eat at the galley out of my own personal preference. And next question comes from the pursuit of infinity. And he asks, why not go for nuke? For me, he asked it, and why didn't I go for nuke? For me, I'm a business major, so I'm interested in business stuff. I'm not interested in nuke stuff. But you might ask, well, you might be able to go in business with nuclear stuff. I do not want to work with nuclear stuff. I want to be in business with like YouTube or business with clothes. So that is my personal interest. And also, when you're in the nuke program, you're actually in the Navy longer. So like I think it was like minimum of 6 years. So I do not want to be in school for that long. I do not want to be in Navy for that long. I'm just going to do my time and get out. So that works for me. And that's why I am not a nuke. Next question comes from future sailor Torres in regards to, can you negotiate when you leave for boot camp? The thing with this is, right, each week people graduate from boot camp. So yesterday, Friday, people graduated from boot camp. And next Friday, people are going to graduate from boot camp. And the Friday after that, people are going to graduate from boot camp. Every Friday, people graduate from boot camp. So let's say you join and you say, hey, I want to leave in a month. I don't think that's going to happen. Why? Because they probably filled those numbers months ago, months before, like 3, 4, 5, or 6 months before. So typically when you join, they're probably going to put you like 4, 5, 6 months from the day you join when you are at MEPS, because they probably filled up the numbers of, let's say, recruits that are going into one division. Like, I don't want to complicate it, but they probably filled up the numbers within the 30 days, 60 days, and the 90 days. So they are going to put you in a much later time. Now you can say, hey, I want to leave sometime June, and they're going to see if it's available. And if it's available, I'm sure they'll work with you. But if it's not, they're going to say, well, maybe not June, but how is May or how is July? So that's how it's kind of going to work. And also, next question comes from future sailor Fernandez on benefits after serving. Well, obviously there's the GI Bill that everyone knows of. And the second thing is, let's say I'm applying for a job. In today's world, a lot of people have college degrees. So let's say, for example, I want to be a police officer, and there's 10 applicants that want to be a police officer that apply for the local police station or whatever, just for example. And every 10 has a criminal justice degree background, college. They're all in a similar level. One might be a higher college than the other. But what makes the difference is if you have a military background, because that gives you a priority choice. All right, so you are more likely to get hired than the other 9. All right, so that's one of the benefits. So next question comes from future sailor Dobb. And where do you find officer recruiters? Well, future sailor Dobb, you're still in high school, so when you go to your local enlisted recruiter, I'm sure they're not going to really take you seriously at the moment, because if you want to talk to an officer recruiter, you have to kind of qualify at that moment. Because if you want to be an officer, you have to have your college degree. So, but anyway, how do you go about this process? You talk to your local enlisted recruiter, and then you say, hey, I want to talk to an officer recruiter. I'm interested in the officer program, and they're going to either give you a number that you can call to a local officer's recruiting station, or they're going to say, all right, this officer is going to call you around this time, so make sure you're ready. So that's how you would start that process. Next question comes from future sailor King in regards to my own personal plan after the military. So personally, for me, it depends whether and how well my YouTube channel is doing by the time I get out. And also, if let's say my YouTube channel didn't do well, then I'm probably going to start a business at the same time. If not, go to school, get the GI Bill. So, several different things that I'm currently mapping out. So, next question comes from future sailor Sandals. My apologies, Sanders. On Opsec during A school and or fleet, so operational security. So, is there operational security during A school and or fleet? Yes. So if I like randomly said, hey, this is how you can easily break into my A school. There's like one person guard here. You break in. There's like 2 guards here. You kill them, and then you go over here, and that's where everyone lives. If I say that, yeah, that's operational security. That's a big no-no, right? So you can't be giving out the information of your base layout. You can't be giving out information of how many people stand guard here, how many people stand guard there, and all that kind of stuff, because there are people out there that want to do us harm. And also, does a base ever get locked down? I personally don't know the answer to that. I'm sure if a base gets attacked, there was a base when like 3 months ago, that got like there was like a drive-by, and then there was a base here, a drive-by, and then the person like shot at the base. And I'm sure when that happens, the base, something happens where people can't come in or out without certain permission. So I'm sure some type of lockdown happens. But as far as like a total, like, one of those movies, like, metal stuff coming down, I'm not too sure. And also, are there base-wide parties? So there are, like, there's Christmas parties, like Halloween parties, like movie nights, like marathons, like different activities that the base provides, different activities that certain companies provide. So there are always something to do every single month or every other month that does help the sailors with their like moral and welfare and stuff like that, and recreation stuff. All right, so next question comes from Ryanzzification on Asvab tips. So Asvab, it's basically studying, right? So you have, like I said before, there are a lot of different websites that have practice Asvab, so I recommend you take those. And you also have to find a great study habit. So one of the things that I did personally when I started studying for Asvab was I went to Barnes & Noble's and got a book on Asvab, and I looked through it, and then, took my Asvab. I got 75. I think I got 75. And then, I was satisfied with that. And also, Taylor, PA, gave me like a list of things. I'll put in the links down in the description of what he said in regards to helping people in regards to Asvab. So, check that out, what he did. So I do always recommend, try out different things. So if you're not a very good study person, try this study habit. So let's say like study 30 minutes and then take a break for another 30, or study for an hour, and try many different study tactics, studying habits. You have to try out different things if you want to take the Asvab, if you want to score high, or if you want to score well. Because you might, let's say you're not the best test taker in the world and you're not the best study person in the world, you have to find something that works for you. Maybe studying an hour a day works for you. Maybe starting 30 minutes a day works for you, because any more than that is going to drive you insane. Or any more than that, you can't really focus. So I would always recommend, like, try out different things. For 1 week, try studying for 30 minutes each and every single day and no more. Or the next week, try an hour a day and no more. Or maybe you need to try studying for 45 minutes and take 15-minute break, and then do that again and again throughout the day. So try many, many different things until you find a study habit that works for you, and you develop and make it a skill, right? So, and last question comes from future sailor Lagunas in terms of being paranoid, right? Being in the military service, it's obviously there are some dangers to it, right? So future sailor Lagunas asked, like, how do you deal with paranoid thoughts? Like, how do you not think about it? And how do you stay calm, right? And the thing with that is, it's kind of difficult for me to say, but there's civilians and there are military personnel. Civilians can stay calm, and they don't really have to deal with it or think about the world problem, because it doesn't really revolve around them. Like wars, they see it on the news, but in reality, it doesn't really revolve around their daily activity. But military personnel, you have to understand it. You have to think about it, because if there's a war, obviously military personnel are sent, right? So in terms of how do you deal with it, you have to understand it. You have to understand that you are assigning yourself into a lifestyle. This is the part of the lifestyle. Going to war is why I get paid. It's going to war is what, why a bunch of different military personnel get paid to do. And you have to think about it. You can't just ignore it, because let's say you're suppressing all these fear and problems, and then you're in a situation, let's say, and your ship's under attack. Let's say I'm in a ship, we're sailing across, and then the ship gets under attack, and you suppress all these feelings till now, and the moment happens when you have to actually do your job, and you freak out because the fear is overtaking your mind, and you can't move, and you can't fight fires, you can't be plugging up holes to stop water from leaking in. Now, other people have to work harder, you know, to pick up your pace, pick up your weight, right? So the way, it's a little bit difficult for me to explain, but how you deal with it, how you can be calm, is you have to understand it. You have to read the news. You have to be involved. You have to look at graphic scenes, in my opinion, and start to introduce yourself slowly introduce yourself into the world out there. All right, and you can't really avoid thinking about it, because if, like, currently right now, there's a lot of U.S. presence in China. U.S. is flexing its muscles in front of China because they want to prevent China from expanding their land and making military threats against Taiwan. So U.S. ships are there making a presence saying, hey, China, stop expanding, right? So it's real-time events. There are ships right now being sent out there having to deal with that. So you have to think about it. All right, so in my opinion, that's the best way. So I would say slowly introduce yourself to the military life. Talk to different military, like retirees. Talk to different military people and see how they deal with it. Like, you know, if someone went to Vietnam War, talk to them and say, hey, how did you deal with it? You know, when you were at Vietnam, when you saw blood and all this violence, you know, how did you deal with it? Or maybe not Vietnam, but maybe, let's say, 20 years in the Air Force, 20 years in the Army, Marines, whatever. Well, not even 20 years, maybe 10, 15, whatever years, and see how they deal with it. You know, you have to understand other people's point of view and try to incorporate that in your life, in my opinion. And so that's what I can recommend. All right, guys, so I hope this video helped. If you have any more questions, like I said, wait until Monday's video, please. I hope you liked this video. Press that thumbs up button for me. Subscribe for more. And I hope you guys have a great Navy day.